Hello and welcome to Landscaping Southwest Television. I'm Christine Cornels and we're going to show you how to transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. The Southwest region is unique with its extreme temperature changes, the abundant sunshine, and limited rainfall. Therefore, landscaping can be somewhat more challenging in this area than in other wetter regions of the United States. So on this show, we will be talking with experts who are experienced in successfully landscaping the Southwest. We want to help you create that beautiful outdoor space you've been dreaming about. Join us today on Landscaping Southwest. Well, in this episode, we're going to get a chance to continue our discussion of xeriscaping principles. And to do that, we invited Wes Brittenham of Plants of the Southwest. Wes, so great to have you back.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. And we're actually standing here at Plants of the Southwest. You're in the village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque. And
right.
It is just beautiful this time of year.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the last time we were here, I think we were sitting right at this place and the plants were maybe an inch tall, and look what we have now.
Yeah, this is incredible, and the bees are buzzing around it.
The bees are very happy, yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, we asked Wes to come and talk to us about mulch, but earlier this season you talked with us about planning and design, and also amending the soil.
Irrigation principles.
The irrigation principles, that's right. Well, and do you find that when customers come to you, are they aware of the xeriscaping principles, or kind of vaguely aware
Some
of them?
are, plenty are. Not everybody is. It's a pretty easy process to explain just in asking them how they want to utilize their space. So.
Sure. Well, hopefully you can refer them to our previous episodes too.
Yeah.
And learn a little bit more from you.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about what's been happening at Plants of the Southwest, because we were here maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think if you go back and look at the episodes that we've done here, you see where it was fairly dormant in January and February, and then a little bit more. Well, it's lush and green and beautiful, and people are planting their vegetables and their flower gardens. This is our busy time of the year, so it's been just wonderful, and lots of vegetables and herbs going out the door, lots of flowers, trees, just everything. This is our Christmas season.
Well, I'm loving coming to see it again. I'm glad we could get a chance to come back. And give us a little intro into mulch too, and how that plays into xeriscaping.
Well, mulch, I consider mulch to be icing on the cake. It's the last thing that goes down when you're finishing your landscape. So it serves several purposes, the biggest of which is helping to conserve water, lower the soil temperature, reduce evaporation, and also to a degree reduce germination of weed seeds. So mulch is...
so it serves a lot of purposes.
A lot of purposes, yeah, and it's very visual too, so it kind of ties all the planting together. The mulch is sort of the unifier. So.
Great. Well, when we come back, we'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about that and considerations for you for what you might like to apply as mulch in your yard. So we'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest. Yeah, dude, I can't believe it. Well, I am holding an Oya, which is an ancient form of irrigation. It's a clever way to conserve water, and John Bolton of East Central Ministries is going to explain to us what is an Oya and how does it work?
So it's porous clay. We fire it without any glaze, and just at the right setting so that water will sweat through it. Once you fill it with water, water will sweat through to the roots of your plants.
And how often do you have to refill it?
Roughly 24 to 48 hours for the water to drop through.
Okay. Can you show us actually an Oya in action?
Sure. So we just planted these the other day. This is one that we just put in.
I can see it's all wet around here.
It is. So we filled it with water about a day and a half ago. So we buried the Oya about 3/4. We're kind of up to the neck so that the neck is exposed for easy access of pouring water into it.
Great. Well, thank you, John. And you can get more information about how to use Oyas and how you can use it in your yard at landscapingsouthwest.com. Well, Wes, it sounds like mulch is a really important part of landscaping here in the Southwest. Now, when I go to put mulch in my yard or my garden or wherever it might be, what sort of things do I need to be thinking about in terms of the type of mulch?
Okay, well, I think that mulch being sort of a unifier and a top dressing to everything can reflect the type of landscape you've designed. So for example, if you have a super xeric native landscape with, rugged things like chamisa and agave and cactus and yucca and penstemons and paper flower, perhaps in that installation, a gravel or a crusher fine mulch might be great. Some people don't like them because they think they reflect too much heat, but I think that if they're thick enough, a good 3 to 4 inches, they still have benefits to cooling the soil and preventing evaporation. Plus, as a designer, I look at it like you don't see woodsy mulches out in the desert. It's more decomposed stone
because
and
the plants
sandy.
you just mentioned are those native and adaptive plants,
Right.
and in terms of the natural environment, you wouldn't find them. Like you were saying.
So if your design was more riparian or more referring to the mountains, or you just wanted a cooler feel, and the plants were more of a moderate water user, you might go with something organic like wood chips or pecan shells or something like that.
Okay, great. And I'd love to see some examples of
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Now, I don't have examples of crusher fine, but one thing I would say about the stone mulches is that they come in a variety of colors, like gray and names like Mountain Rose and Sunset and Santa Fe Brown.
Very beautiful.
And Santa Ana Tans. So you can match your stucco if that's something that's important to you.
So it's matching the plants and the your
and again, as a
building,
unifier, it helps to pull it all together into the design, not only of the landscape but also the architecture.
Well, actually, just really quick, you mentioned 3 or 4 inches too. That probably can be a lot.
Yeah, the depth is important no matter what mulch you use. The 3 to 4 inches is key. Anything less than that, and especially with the stone mulches, that heat could be transferred right through to the soil into the root zone and actually cause problems. But if it's thick enough, I think you sort of minimize that.
And that's because the crusher fines are absorbing the heat before it ever even gets to the soil.
Right, but if they're thick enough, they don't. So we have some examples down here. Now, compost is something that you wouldn't really want to use as a mulch on top of the ground. You can see that it's a soil product. It's nutritious, but if you want to use compost, I would say either you mix it in at the time of planting, or you put it down as a top dressing and then put another mulch on top of it. And maybe it's wood chips, shredded bark, a wood type product, something like that.
And these are all different sizes you have here.
Yeah. This is a byproduct of the tree industry, arborists, when they take down trees and shred the wood. So this is great. It also breaks down and adds to the organic profile of the soil. Same thing with pecan shells. The pecan industry in southern New Mexico, this was a waste product, but it's been used as a mulch in landscape for probably the last 15 or 20 years.
And you can get that here in New Mexico?
Yeah, you can get it right here in New Mexico. So these are some examples, and they all have great applications, but the organic ones really hold more moisture than the stone does, and also in the absence of a liner fabric or something underneath, these will decompose and add to the nutrients in the soil.
Oh, okay. Now, what would a liner fabric be put down for? What do you do with that?
Well, so I want to put in a plug for no plastic. Back in the 70s and 80s, everybody used plastic in the landscape, and plants can't breathe. The roots need an oxygen exchange, they need air, and they need water out to the drip line.
So people would often put plastic on the ground?
Yeah, as a weed preventer. More than anything, they thought it was to prevent weeds. And if you don't have a big weed problem, why bother? Now, landscape fabric, there are many types of fabric, but it's breathable, it's porous, and to a degree it allows an exchange of oxygen, of air, and of moisture. But that can be somewhat limited. The fabric can channel water away faster than it can percolate through.
Which is not what you would want, because you want as much water to get to
you want to capture the water into the root zone. So I'm actually not a fan of any barriers. Also, if you're using a woodsy mulch, one of these organic soil replenishing, soil amending type mulches, even a fabric barrier prohibits that action from happening. Now, you remember the black gold piece of one of the episodes?
Yeah, we talked about that.
So that's what happens when you have this stuff down without any kind of barrier. But if you have a barrier, you're never going to enrich the soil to that degree.
Because after a number of years, if you don't have that barrier, you can be benefiting the soil.
You'll really be enriching the soil, which is going to result in lower water use, less reliance on fertilizer, and healthier plants overall.
Okay. And when somebody goes to replace their mulch or to add to it, well, actually, what do they need to do? Do they replace it, take out the previous mulch?
No, you just top dress it. So something like a crusher or a gravel mulch, once you put it down to the appropriate thickness, you never need to do anything with it again, other than maybe occasionally rake it, clean it up. Yeah. These guys, when the wood is fresh, it's a brighter color, it's a little different. As it ages, everything turns to kind of a gray color. We all turn gray as we age.
Yeah, yes, I don't like to admit that, but yes.
So, we'll just put a top dressing on every spring, every other spring, just a thin layer over the top. So you don't use as much material with each successive top dressing, but it's just to freshen it up.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to do it, but I think, well, maybe you do. Over time, as it breaks down, that layer is becoming thinner, so it's worth your while to occasionally test the thickness and top dress it. And certainly
And when you top dress it, when you top dress it, should it be helpful to kind of mix the mulch that's there just to kind of stir it up, or is there any need to do that?
No, not really, because sometimes what's happening is, especially with the woodsy mulches, there are all sorts of microscopic things going on. Beneficial fungi, bacteria, these little networks of soil microorganisms are happening, so you don't want to disrupt that terribly much, so it's probably actually better just to leave it where it is and put a thin layer and just lightly rake it over the top. And leave this to help that soil web. Yeah, and weed seeds, every seed needs light and moisture to germinate, so having that thick layer of mulch, the weed seeds can't get enough light, so a thin little layer of fabric or plastic is not going to make that much difference compared to 4 inches of mulch.
Wow, great. Well, thanks so much for that advice, and hope you picked up something you might consider for mulch for your yard. We'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest. Wes Brittenham from Plants of the Southwest has been sharing with us different types of mulch and the considerations on those, what type of mulches you should use in your yard. And Wes, I wanted to ask you, what do you use here at Plants of the Southwest?
Well, we use a couple of different things to identify the pathways. We use the shredded wood from the arborists, and to mulch the flower beds and landscapes, we use the pecan shells.
And is there a cost difference?
Yeah, the pecan shells are a bit more expensive, so it would cost quite a bit. And I think the pecan shells maybe need a little more frequent top dressing to keep the look nice and fresh like this. Though the wood, it doesn't matter quite as much.
And the wood, it actually makes it very clear to see where the pathways are.
Definitely.
Okay, and when you're laying down the mulch, what sort of things do you need to be thinking about it? Because it does seem like for example, the pecan mulch seems like it might blow away with the wind. Do you have to worry about that?
Well, I think if you're in a really windy area, there might be some consideration for that. But initially, when mulches are put down, particularly the woodsy ones, there might be some of that. But eventually, they kind of knit together. The little edges fit together. Yeah. So I usually advise people either to, if they have a roller, to roll over it to compact it a little bit, or perhaps to wet it down. Just take your hose and spray over it, and really help to knit that together.
Well, Wes, thank you so much for providing that explanation.
Sure.
We actually got a chance to talk with Jill Brown, my landscape coach, who also is using mulch actually in her herb garden, so we'll get a chance to see what she did there. Well, in this show, we actually talk a lot about mulch. So we've asked Jill Brown, my landscape coach for Landscaping Southwest, to give us a little tutorial on mulch, what it is, the different types that are here, and why do we use it?
Yeah, all right. So I will say that mulch is the single most important material we need for our plants in the arid Southwest to actually keep them alive. I think it's the single most important piece of planting design. So I want to talk about 3 mulches.
Okay.
We have an organic mulch, which is like a shredded bark mulch. We have another natural mulch, but it's gravel. And then we have a mulch that I like to use, which is called crusher fines, which is the crushed up gravel.
Oh.
So I wanted to show you right here in my garden
this is your herb garden right here.
Yeah, this is my herb garden, and most of you might know you can plant herbs throughout the year, and they are perennial, so they'll come back. So you're seeing these here. But the mulch in itself, this is a shredded bark mulch with variety of pieces.
Okay.
And So this is a popular one, and another popular one is just plain shredded bark mulch where it's very consistent pieces.
But you prefer the one with a variety of
This
bark?
one's less expensive.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, that's a good reason.
And I like to reuse. So this is a reused product from the transfer station, East Transfer Station in the East Mountains, where they grind up old trees, but they don't have the, they don't make it consistent. But you can purchase from other places. You can purchase really nice shredded, consistent bark mulch.
How deep do you have to go?
So I like to do 3 inches. I think that's the ideal depth. If you don't have 3 inches, anything will be good.
Will be helpful.
Yeah, anything will be helpful. So definitely 3 inches.
And how often do you have to refresh it?
So refreshing it, I recommend you can refresh it in the beginning of the springtime. And what a lot of us do, and what I really recommend, is in the fall you leave your leaves and let your leaves cover all of your beds. So you put all your leaves on top of the beds, and then in the springtime you remove those leaves and you can put down new mulch. So you put down just a little bit of new mulch. If
You don't have
already,
to take up the old mulch, right? Because that's already kind of being packed in and helping provide nutrition to the soil.
Yeah, definitely. And the old mulch will sometimes compost down a little bit.
Yeah.
And actually just compact down.
Okay.
So it's always good to just add a nice topper, and it gives it a nice color.
Right. Okay. Now, what about the other 2 types?
So the other 2 mulches are. You'll see probably a lot of homes around town have the gravel mulch, and people like to use that because it's really inexpensive, it's simple to use, and they'll put that over a landscaping fabric. So that's one, you'll get a clean, consistent look.
Okay.
One of the problems with that mulch is sometimes the dirt collects on top because it's such a sandy city that we live in, and just in the arid Southwest we have a lot of dirt. The dirt will collect and come underneath the mulch, and when we have storms, it's a great place for plants to grow. So weeds,
plants that you didn't necessarily want to
plants
grow.
that you don't want. So that's
Oh, wow, a toss-up then.
That's a
so you have to go
toss-up.
back and kind of clean up those weeds then periodically.
You have to keep the weeds clean up, but it does give you a nice consistent look.
Yeah.
And then the other material I like to use is the crushed up gravel, which is the natural decomposed granite, which we have in the Sandias here in Albuquerque, but also it's just the companies will crush that gravel up after they've made the different sizes, and it's what's left, and it's called the fines. And so we call it crusher fines. Other places call it chat. I think they call it, in El Paso they call it chat. But I like to use, again, 3 inches of that. 4 inches is ideal if you're using it for a walking surface. So that's the great thing about the crusher fines, is you can compact it down 4 inches. You can compact it, wet it, compact it, wet it, compact it, and it can be used as a pathway.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so it's a simple way to get a new pathway. But around our plants, I like to use, again, 3 inches.
Well, Jill, thanks so much for
You're
the tips.
welcome. Hi, I'm Jill Brown, my landscape coach for Landscaping Southwest TV. And today I'm here with Christine, and we wanted to talk about what is your landscape personality. So I have a quiz on my website, mylandscapecoach.com, and I love to find out what people's landscape personality are. So we're gonna take the quiz right now. Are you ready?
I think so. Is it hard?
It's not
Okay,
hard.
okay,
It's super
good.
fun.
Yay, okay,
And
great.
it helps us decide what direction you want to go in your backyard or your front yard, wherever.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Okay, so the quiz. Question 1, on your birthday, would you rather?
And you have 4 answers here. I would rather spend a family day at the park.
Okay, when you get home from work, you change into?
Oh, definitely jeans and sneakers.
Jeans and a sneaker, okay. In another life, you'd be?
Oh, these are all fun options. A beach bum.
A beach bum.
Yes, I'm from California, so
Perfect.
definitely have to do that.
Perfect. And then your favorite afternoon snack?
Oh, there's lots of them. And actually, these are all great options. I'll go for a green smoothie.
A green smoothie.
Yeah.
Okay, well, she is playful, so that's her landscape personality, is playful.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That resonates with me.
Yeah, definitely. We have 4 options: playful, social, relaxed, and tree hugger. And what we do now, what I have you do is I have you go look at a Pinterest board of all kinds of options for playful. So it'd be fun. So like actually where we are now, sitting here with these colorful things, this is part of a playful.
Oh yeah, very playful. So it really helps
landscape,
kind of guide the whole design of the yard.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great way to get you started.
Oh, well, thank you. That was an easy quiz. That was fun.
Thanks for taking it.
Wes, at the beginning of the show, you mentioned that mulch is really the icing on the cake. What did you mean by that?
Well, not only is it this sort of unifying element that ties everything together, but when you install a landscape, you sort of go in layers. You start with the soil preparation, whatever grading, demolition you need to do. You put in your plants, you lay out your irrigation according to the placement of the plants, and then when you're finished with that, the mulch goes on top. So it's the finishing element to tie it all together.
Do you see people sometimes putting the mulch down too early?
Yeah, I think, it's sort of, having done this so long, it's second nature to me, but a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is get the dust gone and cover the weeds. They want to cut down all the gravel or bark or whatever it is, and then plant the plants and maybe do the irrigation afterwards, which really makes the work a lot more difficult, having to, rake things back and keep it clean and not mix the soil with the mulch. So it's really just a logical progression of steps.
That's great. And it's neat hearing you talk about it this way, because I realize now why mulch is one of the xeriscaping principles, and that you can't look at any one of them just individually by itself. They really all have to work together as an integrated system.
Yeah, and I think it all starts with planning and design. That's probably the key. The first one, just to know what you're doing and what you want to achieve.
That's great. Well, Wes has a lot of tips on planning and design, so if you missed that episode, please go back to landscapingsouthwest.com to see that. Wes, it's been a delight talking with you yet again. Yeah, and if people want to get more information about mulch or different types of mulch or even things that you may have to offer, how can they get in contact with you or Plants of the Southwest?
Well, they can certainly show up here at the nursery. We're at 6680 4th Street in the village of Los Ranchos. That's about 2 blocks north of Osuna. Our telephone number is 344-8830, and our email here is it's not abbreviated, plantsofthesouthwestabq@gmail.com. The ABQ is very important.
Oh, okay.
But they can certainly, and then, having spent so long in the landscape business, I can certainly refer them to, sources for materials or further information or whatnot. So,
okay. Yeah, because you have some of the pecan mulch here.
Yeah, we sell pecan mulch here by the bag, but also if you're doing a huge project and need it by the dump truck load, I can tell you where to get it there.
That's fabulous. And you have a Plants of the Southwest in Santa Fe too.
We do have a Plants of the Southwest in Santa Fe as well. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, Wes, thank you so much, and we hope you picked up some tips and principles to learn more about how to apply xeriscaping to your yard. And please join us next time as we help you transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. See you then.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Okay. Oh, do you want me to do that? Oh, yeah, great. Okay. So I'll just do it. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
So should I jump back?
No.